No, they're highly inappropriate, David, and they're actually damaging to the national interest. Wayne Swan has a pathological urge to attack anybody who doesn't agree with him. Back in 2007, when John Howard made some comments about Barack Obama, Penny Wong rushed out a press release in February of that year calling John Howard's comments short-sighted and irresponsible. It seems Wayne Swan hasn't taken that lesson from his own party and is exacting a double standard. So I think, Wayne Swan should look much closer to home when he wants to see who are the real dangers to the Australian economy. It's Labor's carbon tax, their mining tax, their 5 biggest deficits that Australia has ever seen. It's $145 billion in government debt, and it's a $120 billion black hole. So I think Wayne Swan is really going a bit too far here.
Do you think the comments, though, will damage relations between Australia and the United States, particularly if the Republicans get in?
Oh, look, absolutely if the Republicans get in, because they're going to be looking at these comments by the Australian Treasurer and saying, well, what sort of respect do they have for us? Look, Labor has got a track record here, David. When Bob Carr was just a humble civilian before he became Foreign Minister of Australia, he had a blog, and on that blog he attacked all the US presidential candidates. He described Newt Gingrich as a mad professor. He described Rick Santorum as someone who lusts for war, and he described Mitt Romney, now the Republican challenger, as bloodless. So, I think whether it's Bob Carr or Wayne Swan, they really have attacked unnecessarily and for the wrong reasons the Republican candidates.
But you mentioned John Howard there and Penny Wong's criticism of him in 2007. So do you then believe that John Howard's comments at that time were inappropriate?
No, I don't. I mean, John Howard had reason to make his comments. It was in the context of a security debate. But the point here that I'm trying to make, David, is that Labor was the first to come out and attack John Howard for his comments. They were the first to rush out press releases and say that they were, quote, short-sighted and irresponsible. Now Wayne Swan, for his own base political purposes, is deciding to go out and attack Mitt Romney in this case. And, what Wayne Swan is showing is very much a double standard.
OK, you delivered a speech last night called The China Game, How Australia Can Play a Winning Hand. It's being reported today as an implied rebuke at Barnaby Joyce, because you talked about the Liberals' policy of more transparency and lower thresholds that would help, quote, debunk certain myths that are peddled. What's your response to that analysis?
Look, the Nationals and the Liberal Party are on the one page here, because what we both want to see is a foreign investment system that is very much in the national interest, and that does include lower thresholds for agricultural purposes. It includes a register, and it also includes buttressing, strengthening the expertise on the Foreign Investment Review Board. So that's not a criticism of Barnaby Joyce, but what it is saying is that those who don't put the real facts out there but have knee-jerk reactions should actually look at some of the facts, and I think our proposals are going to ensure that that happens in the future.
So it wasn't aimed at Barnaby Joyce?
No, it wasn't.
OK, I want to ask you as well about US troops on Australian soil. Do you agree with Kerry Stokes's concern about them obviously not being under the command of Australian forces?
Look, I disagree with Kerry Stokes on that particular point. I have said in that speech that Barack Obama, in his speech to the Parliament, and the joint announcement by Julia Gillard and the President of the United States to have US Marines rotating through Darwin was a good one and a natural extension of our alliance commitments. I'm a strong believer that the US needs to be deeply engaged in our region, because that is a force for stability. And we're seeing, particularly now in the South China Sea and the East China Sea with Japan, disputes, territorial disputes between China and some other countries, and that's going to require US engagement to ensure that things don't get out of control. So I'm a big believer in the US alliance. I'm a big believer in deep US engagement in the region. But I also believe, David, that Australia does not need to make a false choice between China and the United States. We can be a good friend of China and a good ally of the United States.
Well, coming up next, we're going to delve into the US.
Price will tell us what they've got planned for Operation